Hey there guys, how's it going? I've seen a lot of talk online about the effect of multipliers in PvP, specifically ones where there are varying conditions such as you need more lux to deal more damage, or you need to sacrifice HP to deal more damage, or just in general you need to be at your maximum HP to deal the most amount of damage. Some of them are sort of like intuitive, like the HP one for example. I think, well, it probably makes sense that you start at full HP and therefore medals with that multiplier are consistent, but people have made the argument that, well, maybe they just set all medals multipliers to maximum in that case. What about medals like Zac and Aladdin right here, which deal additional damage the lower your HP is? How do they work? So I thought we'd go ahead and do a little bit of testing. Now my method's not going to be perfect here, and if you guys have any better ideas, I'd love to hear them, honestly. I just thought it's the beginning of a new PvP week, maybe we could try this out. But I thought we'd go ahead. Alright, this is my logic, okay? So I've tried this without a booster, like a buffer, and I only deal 1 damage, and therefore I'm not able to do any testing. So I bring in a buffer like Kyrie, for example, right here. So Kyrie should do a decent amount of, well, obviously it'll put all the rest of the medals that I'm testing today on a similar playing field. So I want to test out Zac and Aladdin specifically because they deal more damage the lower HP you're at. I love to do this without a healer at the start, but unfortunately all the buffers they have that buff without doing a heal seem to not be perfect enough. And I only have 1 copy of Zac, so 1 copy of Dash rather, so I couldn't make that work anyway. What my idea is okay, let's say you take this Chippendale medal right here, so it's got a 1.67 multiplier. Because it's a tier 3 medal, we double that multiplier, so it's going to be 3.34. On a similar note, Zac is also a 1.67 medal at its weakest point, so therefore if you're at full HP when you cast this, or at least at the maximum HP you need to be to get the worst multiplier, what I'm trying to say is we should be seeing very, very similar damage. And to make sure there's no discrepancies, I've got the strength right here, so if you can see 7,181 for its strength, plus 920 equals 1 point off 8,102, which is what Chippendale is here. So I couldn't exactly get it right, because obviously the Chippendales are obviously in multiples of 5 only, but we're 1 point away. That doesn't make any sort of difference in a case like this. What about Aladdin over here? So unfortunately Aladdin's strength is actually capped a little bit lower than the other 2 medals. At the end of the day, though, I don't think it's going to matter. So we're going to try and see if we use a HP sacrificing medal like Pain and Panic right here, which deals damage in exchange for HP, if that'll somehow make this one's multiplier stronger. So again, tier 3 gilted at 100% with the same sort of conditions there, 1.67 to 2.75. It's a beautiful thing that we can use the magic keyblades for this week because they won't be getting any slot benefits whatsoever. Yes, we'll give it a test. I hope we have the right opponent basically to test the thing against, because I've had so many opponents which like don't have the Diamond Dust or Counterpoint Keyblade and therefore automatically lose round 1. It's been a nightmare. I doubt we'll get this perfect on the first try, but we'll try anyway. The second condition, medals that deal more damage with the more lux you have. A lot of people have said, well, there's no possible way of getting lux out of the PvP mode, so maybe they just set that to maximum. Well, let's test that out. I have here a non-gilted final form Sora and a non-gilted, both level 1, HD Armor of Ericus. So Sora is going to be dealing its minimum damage because it's sitting here with that 2.51. This only hits with its maximum if it is in slot 5, so it's going to be dealing at its minimum. This debuffs itself and debuffs your enemies and buffs them as well, which is why we need a stronger multiplier right here. This is the reason why I'm using Kyrie EX+, because she already puts you at +7 upright strength and the enemy at -7 general defense, so there's no discrepancies due to the buffer here. I think this should be a pretty good comparison. If this medal is set to max, I mean, the multiplier is slightly different, but you'll notice that a lot more being a 4.2 versus a 2.67. I'm thinking it will do a lot more damage if this is somehow set to its max. If they do very, very, very similar damage, then we know that, yes, it is dependent on lux, but given that you can't earn any in PvP, any medal that has a lux component to it is, I'm not going to say worthless, because like I've seen a lot of people running Illustrated Xion, especially on reverse magic setups, but if that's all you have, well, that's fine, but there are probably better medals you could be using. And lastly, which I doubt we're going to be able to use, which is why I put it at the back, simply because I don't think, well, I'm definitely going to lose the PvP challenges at the very least. I've got medals right here which inflicts more damage the higher HP you are on, and I'm just going to compare that with just to really test if HP is a thing. Again, I think it is, so, but these 2 medals are very, very, very comparable. I don't think it's going to make, I doubt we'll even get to round 3, so if we do, fantastic, but if not, no worries. Alright, let's try this out. So again, I'm hoping for an opponent. Yep, we're going in this setup first. Hoping for an opponent that doesn't have... If they have defense boost skills on them, which they probably will, I'm hoping for either a max or not at all. Because if they have a defense boost skill that doesn't trigger every single time, that's going to be a little bit annoying. But... Oh, Christ. And the really, really unfortunate reality is I kept winning accidentally. I don't know how. Like, I had 2 setups blank when I was first testing this out, and I somehow kept winning. I swear to Christ, I haven't done any more. I've only been testing this out a little bit. But I've somehow been winning, so we're just hoping to find a really, really low strength opponent that we can go up against here. This Hakume might be our guy. If they've only got 1 setup on their Keyblade, that would be absolutely perfect. So, fingers crossed, we'll figure this out. I've got a calculator here, just in case we need to calculate, like, obviously Final Form Sora does multiple hits. This phone again is garbage, so, okay. Right off the bat, do they have defense boost? Okay, they haven't shown it so far. This is going to be our important number right here. Okay, so, hopefully we do more than 1 damage is what I'm really hoping for. Okay, 22,612. Okay, so, unfortunately I'm going to get the calculator out. That there, so just... Oh, shit. Oh, God. Little desk. Lots of things going on. 22, 6, 1, 12 on the number there. Okay. This metal happens to have extra attack. That doesn't factor into it at all. Oh, shit. It's got defense boost too. That's really unfortunate. Okay, what we want to see is defense boost 2 not triggering. Let's put that back there. And we want to see the same amount of damage to assume that... if we assume we're at full HP, okay, let's find out. Please don't activate defense boost 2. Beautiful, it didn't. So that did 21,800 and something. So again, not exactly the same amount of damage, but very, very comparable, and it did less. Okay, so we can assume that for the all intents and purposes, for the multiplier's sake, we are at full HP. What if that we only got that way because of the Kyrie? Does a metal lower? You know, can we lower our HP even though we can't really see it? Let's try it with Pain and Panic here. We're not worried about this number. And again, we really don't want Defense Boost 2 to activate here. If we can get super lucky, that'd be fantastic. So, potentially, even though we can't see it, we might have just lost HP here. So let's... Please no Defense Boost 2. Defense Boost 2 activated, but it was 7,200 and something. And a Defense Boost 2 takes away 2/3 of the opponent's damage. So, I don't know, it was roughly... Oops. Okay. If it was roughly... Oh boy. I don't know, like that. Then we times that by 3. That's roughly what we're getting there. So I think HP is always set to maximum is what I'm trying to say. It's unfortunate that the DB2 activated there, but given that it wiped away 2/3 of our attack strength, we can see pretty clearly that activating that HP lowering metal didn't actually do anything. We're always at full HP. Okay. Again, if you guys have better ideas on how to test this, I'd be very, very happy to hear it, especially while it's still early days in the Coliseum. So, obviously they're going to win this. They already have after 1 attack. I just hope we don't get, like, paralyzed in turn 2, because that'll be unfortunate. Or even worse if they don't have the Keyblade. If they don't have the Keyblade, we can't even attempt it at all, which would be really sad. But I am genuinely curious. I mean, logically it makes sense that we would be set to minimum lux. Okay, please have either counterpoint or the other one. Yes, okay, they at least have they have counterpoint. Beautiful. Okay, so they're going to go ahead and buff themselves up a lot, which is unfortunate because we're probably going to do 1 damage then. That's unfortunate. Oh, we'll see. It might not all be over just yet. But it's okay, I can just go ahead and redo this setup with this Keyblade in slot 1. Okay, so auto... Oh, beautiful, that's right, we have Kari, beautiful. That's right, that's why I brought it, okay. Because this will reset all their buffs and debuffs and what have you. Okay, so, away Kari goes. Now, again, Final Form Sora is going to do 1 hit. Sorry, 8 hits, and, that guy's not. Okay, so we haven't seen any defense boosts yet. Who knows if that'll happen. Alright, so we're going to take note of how much damage each hit does. 4, 3... 4, 3, 4, 2, and we're going to times that by 8. Sorry, it was times 8. Okay, so that's not how much damage we did, but they had a defense boost 3 max, which I think wipes away, I want to say 80% of the damage. So that means we're going to times that by 4, right? No, 5. 5. If we've lost 80% of the damage, that means we only did 20%. Therefore, we times it by 5 to end up with that total number. So that's how much damage we would have done if the defense boost 3 max hadn't gone off. It doesn't really matter though, because we can defense boost 3 max will activate again on this turn right here, so we can see how much damage that's going to do. So with one hit, we do 36. What was that? 36,800-ish or something. Let's say it was that. Okay, that did a little bit more. Just interesting. Now, I don't know, do we chalk that up to... I really want to keep testing this, because that may be an indicator that we're not at minimum lux. Because that did a decent amount of damage more. Okay, I'm gonna pause the video right here and then replay that so we can figure out exactly the numbers. Alrighty, time for some fun. Let's do some math. Yay! If you want to skip ahead about 4 or 5 minutes as I talk my way through this, be my guest, honestly. But if you want to get to the nitty-gritty of what I'm trying to say here, then feel free to keep watching. So what did we test? We tested Chip and Dale, Zack, and Aladdin first of all. We expected to see them hitting with a multiplier of 1.67. Definitely for Chip and Dale, because it had no other choice. It had to hit with that multiplier. And at almost identical strength, it did a hit of 22,612, going in and freezing framing on the video. Comparing that to Zack, which hit with 21,869, it hit a little bit less than Chip and Dale, which, given that the multiplier Zack's couldn't have gotten any lower than 1.67, means that we can be very, 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 very confident that we were at max HP, and Zack was hitting at its absolute minimum. There's an element of randomness in the Kingdom Hearts Union Cross damage formula. I believe, from what people have understood of it, there is a tiny little randomness factor added onto the very back of it, which either gives you an additional 3% damage or takes away 3% damage, just to change things up a little bit. So it's not like a robotic identical number every single time you hit an enemy with the same metal. So we expect a little bit of variation. Interestingly though, when we went and used Aladdin, so we did a hit of, again, I think that tiny little multiplier, even though we'd used Pain and Panic to potentially reduce our HP, we still did it. Well, we did a hit of 7,296, which times by 3, because we lost 2/3 of our damage due to Defense Boost 2, gives us a hit almost identical to Zack, so which we expect from 2 near identical metals. What we can definitely conclude from that though is that we are always at full HP in PvP, at least. If anyone has a better way of testing that, be my guest. But I mean, we could pretty much assume that from the get-go. It's just nice to be able to confirm it. For the other 2 metals that we tested Final Form Sora and HD Armor of Ericus. Unfortunately, my metals and multipliers were slightly off. You would have seen that my Armor of Ericus had 1 dot on it, because that's just how I pulled it. I pulled it with 1 dot. If I could have tested a Final Form Sora with 1 dot as well, both not gilted obviously, I would have, but that's all I had available to me, unfortunately. If we do the math and realize that 2.62 is roughly 4.4%, so like divide that number by that number, is roughly 4.4% bigger than the Final Form Sora's multiplier, then we expect it to do, on the level playing field that they were on, a hit of roughly 4.4% bigger. And so what did we see? Well, we saw, if we took the 4 numbers that we saw, so we took a hit of 4,342 8 times, add that all together for 34,736. I'm sorry guys, this is so boring. Damage, comparing that to HD Armor Ericus' hit of 36,913. We can see that they're very, very similar hits, and if we go ahead and take a peek, oh yeah, sorry, first I factored in, okay, remove Defense Boost 3 max out of the equation, which is an 80% damage reduction, therefore times that number by 5 and that number by 5, we end up with these 2 numbers right here. When I initially paused in the video before going, oh maybe there is something to that, then I was thinking, because, you know, dealing 10,000 more damage seemed like quite a lot. Well, if we take a look at it, if we add on 4.4% damage to this number right here, which is Final Form Sora's hit, we end up with a number only slightly smaller than the HD Armor of Ericus number. And I was like, well, maybe there's still a little bit of wiggle room there, but that number is only 1.8% different, because I just divided that number by that number, and it's only 1.8% different, so well within the margin of error for that little randomness factor that they add onto the damage formula. That's really, really boring, guys. All I want to say is that we are probably set to minimum lux, and we're definitely not set to maximum. We're definitely not set to maximum. I do still want to test though, potentially like, you know, in a raid boss where you start doing lots and lots of damage to an opponent, and that's how you get the lux out, and eventually you start earning more lux that way. Obviously we don't drop Lux and we definitely don't gain any from PvP, so I highly doubt that that would be the case, but it's possible, I suppose, if you could deal lots of damage first and then use 2 medals in the back of your Keyblade that benefited from, well, I could use the same 2 medals again, I suppose. I could test that out potentially, but I think the coffin is pretty well closed. We definitely start at minimum at least, and we literally don't get any Lux from PvP opponents, so it wouldn't really make sense. If there are any other ones you want me to test, I'd be happy to do so. It's a little bit difficult with like gauges consumed. I've seen people already do some testing on that, so I don't want to tread on their toes or anything like that, but I hadn't personally seen anyone testing out Lux before, so I thought I'd give it a crack. Or HP for that matter, so... yeah, that's pretty much all there is to say. Sorry if this is like a long ranty video, but if there's anything else you want me to see me testing, or if you've done some testing yourself and want to share it with the class, then I'd love to hear it. That'd be great if you could share that with us guys, but and obviously I'll credit you and, you know, share it in the Discord if you want. Maybe we can make a follow-up video to this later on. Anyway guys, way too much rambling for such a small thing. Conclusion is though, if you've skipped ahead to now, you're always at full HP in the Colosseum, meaning medals like Aladdin, Zack, any other medal that requires you to be at minimum HP, it's probably no good. I guess I haven't tested out the ones we sacrifice HP, but I guess I shouldn't assume. I do want to test out like Final Form Sora, for example, and find out if you are sacrificing max HP, even though you don't actually do any sacrificing. Potentially that means you hit with max multiplier. Well, we'll test that out in a future video. Anyway, all the best guys. I'll catch you later. Bye.